full of confidence that the Prussians would lose. France marched off to war, only to find herself quickly on the defensive after initial victories. All of this fanned the flames of discontent with the national government. The French army defeated, the Prussians, now on the outskirts of Paris, laid siege to the city. The ineffectual national government was in disarray. After months of impotent attempts to break out, the French government signed an armistice on 28 February 1871. For the citizens of Paris, it was all too much. On the 18th of March, 1871, the Paris Commune was declared. Until the 28th of May of 1871, the Commune reigned in Paris, a workers' insurrection whose red banners hinted at workers' revolutions to come in the early 20th century, some 46 years later. The siege of Paris in 1870 to 71 ranks among the most remarkable occurrences in the annals of modern warfare. After the decisive Battle of Sedan, near the border with Belgium, where Napoleon III capitulated to the Prussians, the victorious German troops pushed forward to Paris without delay, while the government of the National Defense made the most strenuous exertions to place the capital in a state of defense. Cattle and grain were sent to the city in immense quantities. The roads by which the Prussians would probably march were rendered impassable, and the arming of the Forst and the Enceinte, the ramparts surrounding Paris, was proceeded with as rapidly as possible. The troops in Paris at the beginning of the siege numbered about 200,000 men, but of these only 60,000 or 70,000 were regular soldiers. The besieging force was composed of 6 army corps under the Crown Prince of Prussia and the Army of the Meuse under the Crown Prince of Saxony, the full strength of which consisted of 202,000 infantry, 34,000 cavalry, and 900 guns. By the 15th of September 1870, the advanced guard of the Crown Prince's army was within 10 miles of Paris, and on the 17th, the pontoon bridge was thrown across the Seine. Meanwhile, the Army of the Meuse had occupied the ground on the right bank of the Seine and the Marne, thus completing the investiture. The aim of the besiegers was the reduction of the city by famine. While the only course of defense practicable to the besieged was to pierce the investing lines and establish communication with the relief army of the Louvre, where the French national government had fled in advance of the German armies. Numerous sorties attempting to break out of Paris were led between September and the end of December, each ultimately repulsed. In the meantime, the besiegers had decided on the general bombardment of the city. From the 5th of January 1871 onward, an active cannonade was directed against the city from almost every point of its environment. The distress of the besieged now reached its climax. The hopelessness of the situation was recognized by all military authorities, but a final sortie was undertaken in deference to public opinion. The National Guards, who had hitherto been spared active service, took part in this sally, which was directed against Versailles. Under cover of the guns of Mont Valérien, the French were once more driven back with immense loss on the 19th of January. Resistance was now at an end. On the 23rd of January, Jules Favre went to Versailles to negotiate an armistice, which was arranged on the 28th of January. The following day, the Germans were put in possession of the forts. The preliminaries of peace were concluded on the 24th of February and signed on the 28th. Part of the German army made a triumphal entry into Paris on March 1, but was withdrawn in 2 days on the prompt ratification of the Treaty of Peace by the National Assembly at Bordeaux. The Communard insurrection entailed a second siege of Paris. more disastrous than the first, followed by a week of fierce street fighting. This palace and the Hotel de Ville were burned, the Vendôme column overthrown, and many other public and private edifices more or less completely burned or ruined. And this is according to Paris and Environs Handbook for Travelers by Carl Baedeker, 13th edition, published 1898.